Good day, everyone. Do you ever wonder why some individuals treat women differently because of their sexuality? And why do they treat women less favorable than men? Today's topic is the theories on the origin of women's oppression. But before we begin our discussion, let's view a video of speeches from a variety of speakers in which they talks about gender inequality.
In one voice, the world declared, human rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights.
Women are not even accepted as human beings. They are treated with injustice and inequality. Women are denied. They are neglected, even in the developed countries.
I am from Britain, and I think it is right that I am paid the same as my male counterparts. I think it is right that I should be able to make decisions about my own body.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not. And the government will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. Now looking at his watch because apparently a woman's spoken too long.
So I think right now we have the chance to be heard, and that's why we're doing it. We're all doing it because we're asking to try and elicit change.
How do we use this moment to elevate what is happening instead of continually victimize ourselves?
It's our responsibility to make this world a better place. Yes, we play sports. Yes, we play soccer. Yes, we're female athletes, but we're so much more than that.
The women's movement of this world has mellowed. Our issues and our conversation has become issues for men. I get angry when I think about it. No woman should sit down and allow a man to speak about her reproductive rights. Until you've gone through that process, I've come from Africa to tell you you don't qualify.
Let us now begin our discussion. In chapter 10, it tackles about the theories on the origin of women's oppression, which includes some 4 contents, and those are: first is about women oppression, that to be discussed by Mr. Freddy de la Cruz. Second is about the goddess worship to God worship, to be discussed by Miss Riza May Silorio. Third would be about Eve and Other, to be discussed by me. Fourth is about a shift of production, to be discussed by Mr. Dexter Gallan.
How did it happen that half of the world's population is systemically discrimination? Discrimination occurs when people are treated less favorably than other people, are incomparable situation only because they belong or are perceived to belong to a certain group or category of people. For example, sexual harassment. This means that a person in a position of the power over another offer to trade a tangible employment action or benefit for a sexual favor. Only someone who has the power to control the victim's job destiny can commit this type of sexual harassment. Dear children, the ability to become pregnant through normal sexual activity. Teach children how to navigate social order. Teachers can provide structured scenarios in which the student can act out of offer immediate feedback. Primary task of taking care of the family. Family is powerful factor in longevity, and feeling useful help manage stress and build resilience. Important because of their biology is important because it helps us to understand the living world. Miles, a famous feminist writer, journalist, and historian who has researched the hidden role of women throughout history, compiled theories to discuss the origin of women's oppression.
Goddess-based social organization stipulates that the worship of the mother goddess lasted for as long as people experienced the development of life as a mystery and a gift. Then people became more interested in controlling food production through agriculture, The kind of knowledge that focused on cause and effect became necessary. Follows cult. Women were no longer seen as active partners, but as passive incubators. Male power grew, inequality also rose. Men valued only themselves as powerful, creative persons. Men had convinced themselves that they provide the active principle of life and that women were the passive incubators of life whom men had to rule. Mother Goddess cult. It is assumed that the erasure of this belief from history was due to the fact that history has been written mostly by victor, or in this case men. The elimination of women power came with the unlearning of the fact that women not only had power and equal rights in ancient civilizations, but had extraordinary authority. For example, 5,000 years ago, there was evidence that the mother figure observed that women had a big contribution to making offspring because of their fertility, which means that they had the ability to reproduce through normal sexual activity. Because of that observation, they show respect to women the moment that they see their abilities. Later on, a major paradigm shift occurred because they focused people on what they had observed and seen rather than their own beliefs and cultures. Because of this, men realized that their ability to reproduce had a major contribution to make. As men became knowledgeable and saw that the source of life was the penis and not the womb, they concluded that they were the one who had the power because life began with them and they just planted it in the women.
The third topic would be about the theory of Eve and Other. Eve being the first woman. Some of us know that there is a mythic theory about Yahweh creating the first human being, and it was Adam. Adam needed a companion, that's why Yahweh created Eve. They were given a good life in the Garden of Paradise. However, they were forbidden to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Despite the devil's law tempting Eve, they both ate fruit from the tree, which caused them to be expelled from the garden and forced to dwell outside it. Next theory is about Pandora being the first woman created by Zeus. The Pandora story has the same narrative structure like the theory of Eve. The first woman Zeus made was named Pandora. Pandora was rendered gullible and lazy by Zeus. As Prometheus locked away all the spirits that could harm humans, such as old age, illness, and vice, Pandora unlocked the jar. In that case, the foolishness of a woman let the spirits loose. In both stories, women were perceived as the cause of the downfall of mankind because of their weakness. This myth holds up an unrealistic view of the world by saying that everything we want and need brings us suffering. The tale of Eve contains similar disturbing messages about women's role in the society. Together, these myths are examples of how patriarchy shapes our world today. Downfall. Women, on the other hand, were understood by many to be the cause of the downfall. This misconception stemmed from several factors. Primarily, it came from the fact that women were seen as the weaker sex, and therefore should be seen as a lesser contributor to society's overall success. Bearer of suffering. In women's oppression, women are the bearer of suffering. The aforementioned is because women are usually in the lowest position in society. First of all, it is because of their biological makeup, which leads them to be submissive and weak in comparison with men. Women are the bearer of suffering because women are the ones who have to deal with the consequences of men's choices. For example, they have to pay the prices when a man does not fulfill his duties towards other people. Women should be acknowledged and respected for their contribution to society. Their memories of these events have left them with scars that make them worry of men and their capacity for self-care. Hence, many think that staying at home is preferable to looking for work or going to school outside the house, where they will undoubtedly face discrimination and receive less favorable treatment.
The shift to agriculture is likewise a plausible theory of the suppression of women. Although more stable than hunting and gathering, agriculture is still a difficult and risky source of food. It requires the investment of manpower and longer periods of work in one area of the extended amount of time. This manpower must be committed to the work and to the community that is feeding. Thus, human reproduction for the purpose of creating more workers became a crucial task in society. It was important to keep women protected and controlled, so women had to be watched, women activities had to be monitored so that they could focus on reproduction. So sexuality had to be overseen so that community could be assured that the children they produced would become loyal members of the community. In this theory, suppression of the value of women and their awareness in their own value are evident so that they would continue to accept their role as respective grounds of the seed of men on which next generation of workers is to be grown. Oppression is often justified by essentialist reason. Essentialist argument asserted the oppression of women is due to the nature of their gender and their socially constructed roles. Some people think of women as the lesser sex because of their biological makeup. Women are smaller and less bulky, hence cannot become good warriors, laborers, or athletes. They are fundamentally built for childbearing and childrearing because of their bodies. Not only their bodies weak, their minds are perceived weak as well. The woman's mind is assumed incapable of abstract, logical thinking, such as they are believed less capable of scientific and other highly academic endeavors. So when we talk about gender oppression, as defined by Webster, gender oppression is unjust or cruel exercise of authority or power. Gender discrimination, a form of gender oppression, is attitudes, conditions, or behaviors that promote stereotyping or social roles based on gender. Despite the historical gains that women's rights activists fought for, equality has yet to be achieved. Gender essentialism is the belief that a person, thing, or particular trait is inherently and permanently male and masculine, or female and feminine. In other words, it considers biological sex the primary factor in determining gender. According to gender essentialism, gender and gender-based characteristics are intrinsically linked to biological traits, chromosomes, and the sex a person is assigned at birth. Whichever way it is justified and whatever its historical roots are, women are considered the lesser sex today. Before male domination and gender inequality, there seemed to be a state of women had a central role in society. Much of the shared communal life was dependent on her labor. It seems that women's status in present societies needed little justification. Oppression of women is made possible because of existing systems that orient people toward women, not because women are fundamentally weaker or flawed.
So that's it for today's discussion. Thank you. Thank you.